Bournemouth Chelsea. That was 0-0.
Not a good game for Chelsea.
Yeah,
good game for Bournemouth though.
Yeah, although Bournemouth came off the pitch more.
Scored.
Yeah, more like underwhelmed with the result.
Yeah.
Did
Chelsea kind of got a bit lucky.
Have you seen that?
No.
Oh mate, it was going top bins.
They scored a disallowed goal.
Crossbar. Then Thiago Silva scored from it, but it was offside. I'll show you the clip.
I do feel like
Amazing.
Bournemouth had a lot of chances, and they could have won that. Like they really could have. So they were a bit unlucky, but their games as well. You see, if Chelsea want to be top four, they got to be winning them games.
They have to. Yeah.
So
because you're not going to get teams like your Liverpool, Spurs, whoever as well. You're not going to see them sort of teams dropping points in easy games like that.
There's no way you'll see Man City dropping points like that. Because, like in West Ham, first half you thought, oh, maybe, but then second half they just showed you there's no way.
Has anything changed since the Potter section? Because Tuchel,
I feel like Poch is a lot better. I do. I feel like some of the players he's brought in now, I just feel like he's a stronger manager, and I think he'll do better than last season. But I still don't think they'll get top four. Like, they've brought in so many players though. It's like some of them are just going to get angry they're not playing. There's too many to give them all game time, and
And this was the same point that Tuchel was sacked, and he was sacked for getting, was it 6 points in 5 games or something, and Pochettino's got 5 points in 6 games.
Oh, wow.
So it could,
and games
and
he should be
they're
winning.
known like Todd Bowley and everything. They're sort of, what they do is whenever a manager has like a bad spell, they sack him and get another one. It's like just
which Arteta though. We had Arteta when we finished 8th one season.
Yeah.
Then I think we finished 6th or 7th. And
do you think they should just stick with Poch then?
I think they should, because we stuck with Arteta, and honestly, it's a process. And we got 2nd last season. I think if you're switching managers, you're not going to get used under one. And if you've got a manager a longer time, you're going to know what they want from you. And you'll over time you'll do better with them. And if they're just going to sack Poch and get a new manager, it's not going to help them. They'll just keep going worse, I think.
Yeah, because you like switch up, even the players, all these world class players come into Chelsea when they're under Potter, and they're playing this keep the ball kind of football, pass it around. Then Conte comes in and it's a completely different style of play. It's attack, get the ball forward, and now it's Pochettino with this sort of in between style. With Poch, it's a project, and it has to go for a good few years to get them up to where they want to be.
Yeah. Like if they do finish 7th, 1, it's an improvement from last season, but 2, because it's an improvement, it's not that bad for them. And if they sack them after finishing 7th, then they're gonna go back, finish 11th again.
I just don't think they can sack another manager in this time period.
I think what was it? They've sacked Potter, Conte, Tuchel. They can end up sacking so many, and also with their goal scoring as well. How they've scored 5 goals as well in 5 games. 3 of them against Luton, 1 against West Ham, and 1
Liverpool. They'll start the season.
Liverpool. So they didn't manage to score against Forest and now Bournemouth.
That is bad.
Which
you kind of have to,
yeah. Because
not only do you need to score, you need to win them games.
Yeah, I mean Chelsea fans got annoyed with me when I said that they needed to buy that Chelsea needed to buy just an out and out goal scorer,
really did get
because they'd spend this money on like up and coming players, but for what they needed when they were bottom half, they just needed a goal scorer, because that's what they were lacking, goals. They'd somewhat be able to just concede 1 or 2, but then they'd only be able to score like 1 every 2 or 3 games.
Like who've they got now? They've got Jackson, haven't they?
Yeah.
I think he's a good striker. He'll score some, but he's not gonna always score. He's not like the strong striker that you need.
Yeah.
Like,
and with the fans are getting unhappy.
Yeah.
That's going to rattle some Chelsea fans for saying this.
The fans are getting unhappy with it, and they have the money. Instead of spending it on these other players that are going to come on the bench, even get reserved some games. Like, there was a player on the bench who I didn't like. Who is he?
I know.
Who spent this money on these
there's players there,
massive players? Yeah, and like, I didn't know who one or two of them were on the bench. They were from the youth team, and yeah, they just needed to buy. They probably still can. Just
instead of buying loads of young players who no one knows, just buy like a few good players and like that are young though as well. But you need players who will help you because they need help now, I think. And
like, you know as well, Maddison, who when Spurs played Bournemouth, like was it last week? I think Maddison absolutely tore them apart. Chelsea didn't want Maddison in the transfer window. Yeah, they said no to him. And that's why Tottenham got him.
He got Player of the Month as well, Maddison. So.
And he's been great for Spurs.
Yeah, he's probably
Spurs have been great.
Maybe play for Spurs. But yeah, I think that Chelsea just need to get their spirit back. You know how they go into like the Arsenal game where you had like a few. Was it the draw to Southampton, the loss to City, and it was all sort of going wrong, and then you played Chelsea at home at Arsenal, and Chelsea just absolutely switched off, and then you got all your momentum back. And it's just things like that where the old Chelsea would have gone to Arsenal and thought, right, we're getting 3 points out of this, and they would have gone in like all guns blazing, and they didn't. It doesn't look like the players have come to Chelsea for... Well, they've obviously come for the money, but they haven't got the desire to win games that the fans want them to have, you know. And they need that because teams like Bournemouth and Forest, who have got results out of them, do. All the players are there to win games and do it for Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Not for just cash money.
Yeah. You know, like players who come up from the youth team, you can see that they have tons and tons of spirit because they just...
And they actually have passion. Well, they're from the youth team,
Yeah, they play for the badge. And you can tell that they're just doing it for the club, you know.
There's these fans that they're unhappy with Chelsea now, so then they stop with Chelsea. They just switch off about Chelsea. And they're done with them. And like what the players need is strong, especially now, is strong supporters. And if all the Chelsea fans just stop supporting Chelsea or whatnot, then it's not going to help them. Like at games, you just get that kick of energy or whatever when you hear all the fans. And Chelsea just need one big win, and I think they'll be back on track.
Although they had that against Luton, but it always seems to come back to bite them some way. You know, like they'd have a somewhat good result against Liverpool, and then they'd lose horrifically to West Ham. They had a really good result against Luton. To say they scored 3 goals and didn't concede any is pretty good. And by the way, Luton could be going on for that derby record of the points tally because they're looking in trouble.
Terrible.
And then they go and lose to Bournemouth like this. Yeah, I think they need to try and get it back on track.
Definitely do.
I think they just need time for Pochettino to have a project going with Chelsea, and I don't think that having like all these players, because it's not even the good, you know, like you say, it's nice to have tons of world class options. But it's not really like that with Chelsea.
The worst thing for Chelsea they could do now is sack their manager. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, they just need to...
Because it's not going to help them in any way.
They need to stick with the project because they can't just churn it around in half a season now. It's going to take a while.